Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, March 13th to order. May I have a roll call, please, Mrs. Wachowski?
Yes, Mrs. Klein? Here. Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Schlueter?
Here.
Mr. Trailer?
Here.
Mr. Nielsen?
Here.
Mrs. Evans?
Here.
And I'm here.
Thank you. Has the meeting notice been properly posted, Dr. Pat?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Schlueter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, trip approval, the Spain trip. Dr. Zelmer.
Yeah, thank you. This is the trip to Spain this is the 4th time that the team is taking kids to Spain on the trip. I was hoping to introduce Cheryl Johnson, the teacher who is sponsoring and working with the trip, and she must be detained or something, and she might be here in a few minutes. But we do know quite a bit about the trip, and it's the same as it's been. Nothing has changed in its organization or the length of the trip or anything like that. It's the same thing where teachers give up a couple of days of vacation and they make this happen. There's 9 kids going on the trip this year, and they have Cheryl is taking along with her another chaperone to help to ensure safety. And so this is, we're looking for board approval on this trip. It's the same thing that's been done before, and if you have questions about details regarding that, we can find out those answers when Cheryl gets here.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the Spain trip. Do I hear that motion?
I can make that motion. I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Klein and a second by Mrs. Larson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the Spain trip, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is community comment. Per board policy, we allow up to 15 minutes of community comment. Do I have any community comment tonight? Okay, we ask that you come to the table and use a microphone, and the meeting is being videotaped. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucy Moker, 9914 West Margaret Lane, Franklin. And I've been a resident of Franklin for some time, since 3rd grade. Went to Ben Franklin. I've stayed in the community since 3rd grade, and now I'm teaching in Ben Franklin. And so I thought I was a good representation of this district. I'm teaching alongside of one of my students this year, which is a complete turnaround. So if you're talking about Franklin, I think I'd be a good representation. I've been asked to read a letter to you from the educators and the educational assistants of Franklin. I want you to know that there is some representation here tonight. The Franklin High School is having their conferences this evening, so that they were not able to attend. But I do have a letter in reference to the proposal that's going to be put before the school board. Dear school board members and administrators, we, the employees of the Franklin School District, received news last week that the school board is considering a proposal that would establish a three-tier system of post-employment benefits for its retirees. This proposed system, which has no guarantees built into it, looks as follows. Tier 1, employees currently over 50 and with at least 15 years of service would receive the current agreed upon benefits for health care and sick day payout. Tier 2, employees under 50 with over 18 years of service would get 50% of the promised health care benefits with no sick day payout. Tier 3, employees with fewer than 18 years in the Franklin School District will receive an undetermined payout. The proposal being considered by the board was developed without input from the affected educators and employees. Yet the best school districts are known for collaboration with their educators. Top-down decision-making, which is not informed by the needs and experiences of the people affected by the decisions, is inherently faulty and breeds mistrust and low morale. The Franklin School District is still growing and is well managed and continues to maintain an adequate fund balance. Hard-working employees are contributing to this growth. The devotion of many employees, most of whom fall into Tier 2 and Tier 3, has made this district attractive and high-performing, and loyalty and devotion should be justly rewarded. Indeed, many of the employees affected are teaching or have taught and support the children of the current school board members. These teachers and support staff have ensured the success of these children, have opened doors and opportunities, written letters of recommendation, coached and advised, is cutting benefits that staff members counted on to raise and educate their own children the way this school board rewards loyalty, dedication, and hard work. The Franklin School District has experienced continued and improving academic success. ACT and SAT scores, AP scores, and school rankings have dramatically improved. It is the high level of education experience and commitment of the staff that have made these improvements possible. Shouldn't improved performance be recognized and rewarded? For years, Franklin employees negotiated salaries in good faith, accepting lower pay in exchange for deferred compensation in the form of retirement benefits. Salary increases frequently translated into little over 1% of the time the wages, and by the time the wages were adjusted for inflation. In light of this, staff members planned savings and retirement decisions around the assurances that they would receive retirement benefits from the Franklin Public School District. Now they are being informed that their financial sacrifice was futile. With the passage of Act 10, the Franklin School District has compelled employees to give up more and more of their hard-earned money. Higher contributions to pension and health insurance, a change in an insurance carrier that might save the district money but increases the cost to the insured, and a forfeiture of the TSA for employed spouses are just some of the financial changes. Staff has already made many substantial sacrifices without compromising the quality of education in this district. Is it fair to ask ever more? Research shows that the highly qualified staff is the most important factor in a child's education. Yet, the currently proposed retirement benefit changes imply that good staff isn't valued. Rather, this proposal seems to support the view that a world-class education can be bought at a bargain basement price. But serious research proves this thinking wrong. High-quality employees are the key to great schools. This school board is deciding the future of Franklin. The city has opened up its southwest quadrant for development, and as research shows, the quality of a school district is an important factor in attracting businesses. Good schools provide a desirable quality of life in which businesses can succeed. In addition, a good school district provides businesses with a highly educated workforce and attracts new residents to the community. However, Good schools are only as excellent as the staff who works inside them. We have that staff here. Should our employees not be provided with the promissory benefits that they believe to be theirs? The Franklin School District must retain experienced educators and attract highly qualified staff to the district. We want to see this level of professional quality and commitment to continue and to keep Franklin Public Schools as the go-to district. How will this school district keep its qualified and high-performing employees motivated? How will it retain its experienced workforce? How will it maintain, if not exceed, the current levels of excellence? And lastly, how can we soften the impact that the current savings proposal has on the devoted employees of those lower tiers? These are the questions that we put before the school board, and you have to answer. For these reasons, we, the undersigned, question the fairness and are apprehensive of the negative long-term ramifications if the current proposal is adopted. We urge this school board to reconsider and we look forward to looking and working to find a more equitable solution. I said that I've been here for a while. I probably have at least 2 weeks, but I don't want to leave either. And so I'm hoping that I stay on for a couple of years yet. But working next to these young people who are coming in, and I'm constantly impressed by the quality of the educators that are coming into this district. These are times to be reflective, to be very full of thoughtful about the process that you're going through. We realize things are tight. They're tight throughout the district. They're tight throughout the state. This is such a great school system. If anybody in this room can say it, I can say it. I'm so proud of this district. I hope that you continue to put the great thought into the decisions that you make. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to speak to the board, ask permission to speak. I'm not a resident of
Can you
Franklin,
please come up to the table?
but I am a teacher in the Franklin Public School District.
Can you state your name and address at the microphone, please?
My name is Karen Chubakowski. I reside at 21460 Hollandale Court in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Dear school board members and administrators, for the record, my name is Karen Chubakowski. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Pleasant View Elementary School. It is not only a shock to me, but it also saddens me to see the proposed 3-tier changes to the post-employment benefits for retirees. Teachers hired into this wonderful district come with a variety of educational backgrounds that include the business world, which add to the professional staff here in Franklin. I included have worked in the business world for a Fortune 500 company prior to teaching and have taught 11 years in Franklin Public Schools. I love my profession as a teacher and wouldn't trade it for anything. I feel that rather than being commended or compensated for the 11 years of excellent teaching I have provided to the district, I rather am being punished. How can the school board place a tier system on our retirement benefits? How about rewarding me and my fellow teachers for the great strides our district has made academically, the cohesive professional staff we have here in Franklin, and the successes our district has made because of our great efforts and accomplishments? This proposed change is sending the wrong message that we don't deserve the benefits that we've earned and have worked so hard for, and devalues our professional career as an educator. I'm afraid these proposed changes are going to have a negative impact in regards to our district's overall morale, retention of our current teachers, and attraction to our district's future personnel. Franklin Public Schools currently has a great reputation in which I would never want to see changed in a negative way. The educators have provided the excellent teaching and have built the reputation Franklin Public Schools has today. This proposed change has a major impact on our livelihood and is unfair. I'm asking you to please take into consideration the many hardworking, long-term teachers' lives you will be affecting, in addition to the overall negative repercussions this change will have on our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Fossbender, 7397 Hillendale Drive. I've been a resident in Franklin for over 14 years, and I have 2 children. One's a senior, Danny, and my son Max is a freshman at Franklin High School. And I've taught at Forest Park for 22 years. Needless to say, I'm very concerned about this same tier system that you just heard about. Franklin is a top-notch district. We have tons of leaders in every area of this district. Teachers like myself have been acknowledged by the district and at state and local levels for the work that we do. There are teachers that come from other districts into the classrooms of Franklin to see what we do and to take what we do back into their own districts. We are a high-performing district because we have dedicated teachers who take the time to learn and grow to meet the needs of our students. There's many teachers like myself who go out to state and national conventions, and we put on workshops showing what we do here in Franklin. We have always prided ourselves in being leaders, and we have always stepped up when the district has asked us to do more and to learn and to bring what's best to the students of Franklin. Now I'm asking you to be leaders. Be leaders in ways that we can meet these financial challenges and still reward the dedicated employees that we have here. I understand that these cuts might be necessary, but at what cost? Why is it necessary to draw these harsh lines in these 3 tiers? I understand that our district is pretty financially sound compared to other districts. If cuts must be made, then maybe you could consider the way that you're going to go about doing it. I've dedicated 22 years to this district, my entire career. But there are teachers that have the same number of years that I do, and because they're a couple years older, they will receive all their benefits. I will get half. Now, I think I have at least 15 more years to go, God willing, and I will give you my best. I promise you that. But in the structure that you propose, it's just not fair that the people at these different tiers are getting cut off. There are teachers in my building, because of their birth dates, they miss a cutoff by literally days. 100% of their benefits goes to 50 because of their birth date. I am asking you to consider a more gradual and fair way to do this. Muskego was going to do something similar with the 3 tiers, and they have now gone back to the drawing board and are implementing a point system based on both age and years of service to the district. My husband teaches in Oak Creek. Their tiers are as follows. The employees that are over 50 are getting 89.5% of the benefits. Teachers with 3 years or more and are under 50 are getting 80% of their benefits. They are not taking away the accumulated sick days. Instead of paying $120 per sick day, which was what they were supposed to get, they're going to pay them what they would have paid a sub if they actually use the sick day, which is $113. Instead of putting money in TSAs where they'll be taxed when we remove it, maybe you could look at a health reimbursement account. I know these are only a few suggestions, and I know that you can see the dollars of savings on your budget spreadsheets, but this is more than that. This affects real people like myself. This affects my family and my future. I have done nothing but given my best to this district and to this community. Again, I'm asking you to be leaders in this area. I know you can do whatever you want. You do not have to listen to me. But I'm asking you to do right by the teachers that have done right by the Franklin Public Schools and do what's fair for all of us. Thank you.
is the board willing to continue with citizen comment over the time period? Are there any objections? Okay, come forward.
Sorry, I just came from the gym.
Hi, my name is Paula McGolan. My address is West 125, South 8583, Country View Court, Muskego. Throughout my life, I wished for many things. I wished to be tall, but that didn't work so well for me. That's why I teach kindergarten. Well, anyway, I wished for a happy family life, great friendships, a fulfilling career, and good health. But I never, ever wished to be old. I hate the thought of turning 60 next year. Even the thoughts of all those senior discounts don't sway me. And in fact, when we go to the movies, my husband always says, 2 seniors, and I jump up and say, I am not a senior, charge me full price. Well, I bet that the majority of people behind me wish, due to numbers put on a piece of paper, that they were old, or at least 50. What I find disheartening is that many of these people started out, as Chuck Wettig said to me, in puberty, and admittedly could have, if they started at 23 years of age and are currently 48 or 49 years old, have 26 years of service to the district. For me, because it is my second career, this is my 19th year. These are the people who devoted their entire career to make Franklin Schools the world-class district it is today. I also am concerned for those who have worked for over 10 years, but not more than 15 are put in the Tier 3 with the new teachers coming in. All of these people inspire me to be a better teacher. In this age group are many of your leaders, teachers of the year, committee liaisons. I see the passion all these teachers bring into the classroom to make learning come alive to the students under their care. This is not our job, it is our passion. We are able to give our all because we knew that you respected us for the wonderful work we have always done for our students. Franklin School District isn't world class because of the buildings, administrators, or even the school board members. We, all of us, including you, working together are what makes Franklin great. I see a change in the climate these past couple of years. I see stress levels rising, workloads increasing, but we continue to give our all. But honestly, can only keep taking and taking until someone says, what more can you take from me? I give up. I ask of you, please don't make a decision that impacts our lives without at least having the people impacted as part of the discussion and decision making. In closing, as I was going around talking to my fellow colleagues about the new tier system, someone said to me, why do you care, Paula? You are in Tier 1. I looked at her and said, I care about you. I hope that when someone comes up to you and says, why do you care? This doesn't affect you. You too can say, I care about you. Thank you.
Can you go after this woman, please? Thank you.
Everybody came so prepared with their prepared statements. So I'm a resident of Rose Goodstone, 11860 West Rawson Avenue. I've been a resident, my husband and I, and since 1979. Our daughter went to the school district from kindergarten to high school. I love the teachers. They did the most wonderful job. Our daughter has a great profession today. We're small business owners in Franklin since 1984. We photographed so many of the kids that have gone to Franklin High School, for their yearbook pictures, the graduation pictures. And I think one thing that we have to, as a community, we have to stick together. The taxpayers, you're working for the taxpayers, and you have to do what we need you to do for us. The teachers are working for the taxpayers, but we have to work together. I don't want to.
Sorry, that's in my jacket.
Your jacket is singing to us. But we can't take advantage of each other. The taxpayer can't take advantage of the teachers, And the teachers and administrators can't take advantage of the taxpayers either. A few weeks ago, I was looking into this, and I looked at my taxes, what I paid 20 years ago, and what I paid today. There is a 50% increase in what I'm paying in my taxes. Then I went to the Census Bureau, and I looked, what is the average median income? Do you know that in that same time period, the average median income went up 16%? Now, that is a very big amount where my taxes in Franklin, my property taxes, have gone up that much. Now, when you're a small business owner, I'm not getting a pension from somebody. I have to save my own pension. My health insurance is not being paid by somebody. I have to pay my own health insurance. So you as a school board, I know you have a lot of things that you have to consider. You have to consider getting excellent teachers. But you also have to pay attention to what the taxpayers are paying. You know, we can't afford to have our taxes continually going up, up, up. I mean, we just can't afford it. So I hope that when you're making these decisions, it's a very hard decision for you to make, but I hope you will consider what the taxpayers have to do. And as a community, we can't be fighting against each other. Oh, you're not paying enough taxes, or oh, you're taking too much money from me, or, you know, let's all try to work together. Don't raise our taxes a lot. Everybody's got to try to give a little bit, you know, pay a little of your own way, be personally responsible for ourselves, and, you know, be like us. I had to pay everything on my own and scrimp and save so that I could retire. I don't go on vacation every year. I can't afford it. I used to when I was working, but now that we're retired, my husband was 68 years old when he retired, not 55. So I hope you will take some of the things into consideration that the taxpayers have to do, and respect the teachers and administrators also. They work very hard. So let's work together. You know, don't raise our taxes so much. We just can't afford it. So thank you. No applause on that one.
For the record, my name is Sue Shesky, and I live at 910 Milwaukee Avenue in Waukesha, and I am a teacher here in Franklin. Dear school board members and administrators, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak at tonight's school board meeting. My name is Sue Shesky, and I'm a 6th grade teacher at Pleasant View Elementary School. This is my 8th year teaching for the Franklin School District. I'd like to start by stating that I was hesitant, very hesitant, to speak at all tonight. Those who know me well know that I'm happiest in the classroom working with students. Education is truly my passion. But it's because of this passion that I found I could no longer remain silent. The cuts to teacher compensation that have recently been made and those that are being considered are having and will continue to have an impact on the education of our students. I am sure this is not the intended outcome desired by anyone, but unfortunately, though, it is a very sad reality. I understand the sentiment felt by some that teachers should have to make sacrifices, as many others have had to do during these difficult economic times. I would suggest that teachers have already made significant sacrifices. We are contributing more to our retirement and have accepted changes in our health care plan. Most of us were also denied promised lane changes in compensation that we had been promised, had completed the work to earn, but then lost due to the passage of Act 10. All of this has taken a toll on our incomes and savings. Now come the proposed changes to the retirement plan. Unfortunately, all of these cuts will have a trickle-down effect impacting the education of our students. The problem is that teaching is not a 9-to-5 profession. As a teacher, when our contracted day ends, we don't go home to relax and just spend time this, I'm not referring to the grading and lesson planning that is often associated with the work teachers bring home on a regular basis. Teaching is not simply a profession for any of us. It has become our way of life. When we are not in the classroom with our students, we are thinking about them. We are attending classes, workshops, conferences, and seminars. We're reading books, taking part in professional book discussions, and networking with other educators. We are learning how to use new technology and bring it back to the classroom to integrate into the curriculum. The learning never stops for us. For example, these are a few of my non-classroom activities that I've completed in the past year. Over this past summer, I did a 3-credit graduate course on response to intervention so I could prepare for the upcoming changes that were being implemented in our district. On my own, I completed 12 hours of online webinars which were focused on integrating technology into the classroom, differentiation, and grading practices. I completed the Franklin Moodle course that we were asked to take, and as a result of this, I built a professional learning network of over 200 educators, authors, administrators, principals, librarians, and education experts, that I network with on a regular basis. As part of Twitter, those of you who are on Twitter are familiar with this, there's something called chats, tweet chats, that I take part of regularly, and in the areas of technology integration, reader-writers workshop, and middle school education. In the summer, I developed a class website for my class. I started a class blog on kid blogs for my students. I learned how to do screencasting and created accounts on Educreations and Show Me for my students. And I created a Twitchucate account so that my students would have a safe platform to incorporate social networking into our classroom. Over this past Christmas, I took part in an online book discussion to discuss the book Love by Penny Kittle. She's an expert in the field of both reading and writing. Over 600 educators, as well as the author of the book, joined in the daily discussions. I'm currently taking part in a book discussion for Reading Amplified, a book that encourages the use of technology in reading instruction. Over the holiday break, I also connected with the author of the novel Hollow Earth. She is coming to Pleasant View this month to meet with our 6th grade students, and she's doing it free of charge. I connected with her over Twitter, and she's very excited to come here and talk to the students. Over 40 of our 6th grade students bought the book. They paid their own dollar to buy the book and have read the book and started a 6th grade book club during recess with me to read and discuss the book. The book is almost 400 pages long, and they did this of their own free will. In the classroom, in addition to my regular duties, each and every one of my students has their own reading blog, which they blog on almost every week. We are currently in the process of adding writing blogs for all 83 of our 6th grade students so that they can have an authentic audience for their writing. We utilize online book discussions through Twitchucate so that the students can discuss their books at any time. Over the winter break, I had book clubs in my classroom, and the students went on a regular basis, talked about the books they were reading. Students have access to me, and by that I mean 24/7. If they need to get a hold of me, they have my email. They can contact me through the blogs or Twitchucate, and I actively monitor these all the time at home. I have an iPad that is always with me, and I'm in contact with them. I have a Mrs. Shesky's Red Hot Read program. I am always reading at any time a novel that my students would be interested in. This gets them excited about reading, and we have some lively discussions. So, what happens if the cuts to teacher salaries and benefits continue? Many teachers will be forced to consider taking on a part-time job. I've begun considering this myself. Recently, I was offered the opportunity to take part in a 3-week writing academy over the summer at UW-Milwaukee as part of the National Writing Project. Due to the cost of the tuition and the very real probability of having to find employment over the summer months, I was unable to take advantage of this great opportunity. In closing, please reconsider your plans to reduce teacher benefits. Education is the best future we can offer our children. Without caring teachers, what hope is there?
Hi, Dave Fowler, 7549 Riverview Road, proud parent of a 2012 graduate from Franklin Schools, and the husband, and full disclosure, I'm the husband of one of the teachers. I also volunteer on some of the committees and other events at the city. I do have concerns with our property tax as well, but I'm from a different take. I think the Franklin School District is poised to capture the pent-up demand that's been building up from the downturn we've had in our economy. We are now upgrading our facilities at our flagship. The high school is going to be upgraded with great new facilities. I think that's a great thing. And I'm very disheartened that I believe in this move to cut the benefits for our teachers. We're now taking another asset that the school has, which is teachers, and maybe cutting that morale. We are in competition with other districts around here. Franklin's in competition with Oak Creek, Greenfield, Greendale. They've all improved their facilities, and some of them are taking a different tack with their teachers. If you go on their websites, you'll see what they're doing with their teachers. The city needs to grow, and one of the things that attracts people to Franklin, in open space, the Southwest Quadrant was already mentioned, is going to be our education system. And we have is top-notch. Unfortunately, we do have a disparate burden on our residential properties here because we don't have the same ratio of businesses to residential that they do in the Oak Creek district or they have in the Whitnall district that makes up part of the city of Franklin. We need to get those residents and we need to get those businesses into Franklin so that they grow in all three of those school districts. I hope it's in our district. I'm going to be a little greedy. But I think this is a long term, this is not the right thing to do, but work with the teachers to come up with better solutions so that we can stabilize our property tax by having growth. I think if we cut the morale of the teachers, they're a valuable asset to the high school or to the Franklin School District. And I think if we do that, in the long term, we're going to be in trouble. And I think we'll see our property taxes go up anyways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jody Dubuque. I'm at 4631 Anita Lane. I don't have anything prepared. I'm not a teacher. I'm just coming from a different perspective. I'm a new resident to Franklin as of last September. I'm also a new parent. And I've just, in the neighborhood, I actually come from Illinois, so I'm a convert. But I guess I'm just concerned from a macro level of I just became a homeowner here and understanding what I understand of what these three tiers are changing. It ultimately might affect the quality of teachers in this public school district, which is one of the big considerations in my decision to move to Franklin versus Greenfield, what have you, in the area. And when my daughter gets into school, what is that quality of teachers if the rapid, I guess, movement of benefits away from these? I certainly understand and actually come probably from a more conservative viewpoint that it needs to happen. It's happening with my job in the HR consulting business, but it seems as if so much has been taken away so fast from these teachers that how are they don't have the opportunity to go out and make a lot more income maybe like I do in a private sector job. So what are they going to do? It is their passion, it is their life, but if from a retirement perspective especially, it really concerns me because what are they going to do? There's so many other people facing similar things, but teachers seem to be a little bit different because it is such a passion for them. And I'm concerned about the quality of my education as well as my real estate values. And just wanted to express my concern as a new resident in Franklin.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty Jenna. I live in Mukwonago. I don't know if you need my full address. W312 South 6303 Willow Springs Drive. I'm having a hard time remembering that because I'm really nervous. I had no intention of speaking. I have nothing planned, but I do want to let you know that I am one of those people that falls into one of those cutoff criteria for the tiers. I've been an employee. I've been teaching for over the 18 years to get into the tier 2 to lose 50% of my retirement. But because I was part-time for a number of years, because I was in multiple districts through CISA and in a joint situation with special ed, I don't qualify for the full amount of years, and so I do lose a large chunk of my retirement. I am also a part of probably an even smaller amount, probably growing in this day and age, of people who've had to go through family changes. I've gone through divorce. I am a single working mother of 3. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and a second grader. All of those things happened prior to everything that's been happening in the community, in the state, with all of the cuts and the changes. And so when I went into my divorce and my family change, all of the things that I had considered in going forward with my life have taken a very deep turn in the last couple of years. And it definitely impacts myself, my children, the amount of time that I can even not possibly look for another job, as I put 110% into everything that I do on a daily basis for the children of this district, and including trying to take time for my own children and everything that they're doing. And so it just, what you're doing with that firm cut really affects me going into that first tier with an unexpected amount into a TSA versus some kind of a gradual, some type of something that I know I'm going to have in the end, because I don't have any support from my other half that should be supporting but isn't. But again, that's not in your control, but I'm just trying to also impact to you that our lives have all these different things, and that these types of things can really affect us emotionally and financially. And to have these things, it is very stressful on top of everything else that's been happening with our jobs and the increasing demands and things like that. So I just wanted to come at you from a different perspective, because I sat back there and those are the things that really fell on top of me that I felt hadn't been discussed and realized perhaps in the family lives of the educators around you that help your children in your district to grow. So thank you. Thank you.
Marguerite Darkwitz. I live at West 124, South 7193, Skylark Lane in Muskego. I'm also president of the Franklin Education Association. And I'd like you to notice all the teachers that are here on our behalf. And I would like to thank Dr. Pats. He is trying, through the liaison committee, to build a connection with the teachers and to remedy some of the bridges that were torn down in the past few years. This is really stressing the teachers out. And we urge you to please work with the teachers, get us involved, and come up with a solution that helps the district and the teachers. We urge you so hard, we urge you to do that. Thank you.
Mary Karalevich, 8208 West Coventry Drive. I, too, am a taxpayer, as are all the people who sit behind me, as are you. And so we all have contributed to the success of school districts across the state, across this nation. The teachers and the employees of this district have contributed to their pensions, have contributed to their insurances, have contributed to their sick days, monetarily by paying taxes. Every single one of them, every single one of you. I think that I know I have personal experience of living with two teachers. My father served the MPS district for 43 years. He retired when he was 68. He had a master's degree and enough credits to get himself a doctorate. He did not want to be an administrator, so he didn't get that doctorate. But he served their school district for 43 years. He retired in 1982 at a salary of $25,000 for 43 years of service. And I don't know how many credits it takes to become a doctorate, but pretty close to probably a lot. Thank you. My mother worked half that time for MPS. She left in 1989 at a higher salary than my father for 20 years of service. We did not live rich. We paid for our schooling. My parents did help when they could, but we did not live high off the hog as children of educators. And my mother didn't go back to school until I was in high school so that she could stay at home with us while we were growing up. But because because of my mother's pension and my mother's current insurance that she gets through MPS, I do not have to have my mother living with me. She is able to take care of herself. She's able to live independently. My father, today is actually the anniversary of his death, 9th anniversary of his death. He was able to live independently until the last 6 or 7 months of his life, and he died at the age of 90. They were very active in their community, as are my husband and myself. Currently, I work in MPS. I mean, in Franklin. I feel like FPS. Thank you. And I love my job. I love my job. I could not have asked for a better job, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with the staff here, all the staff, and the children. They can be challenging, but I feel like I'm making a difference. And sometimes I even get a thank you from the kids. And I will tell you what happened at the high school just a couple weeks ago. I went into school, and I'm walking into the teacher's door, and I hear all this shouting and screaming and clapping. It's like, what's going on? And I saw the special education children coming in. I thought, well, maybe they were having some type of a celebration for them. No. The high school students presented every employee that came in that morning with a donut and a sheet of paper that said, thank you for being here for us. And this is what anybody who is in education works for. Not the money, not the benefits, but how they affect kids. Education is an investment. It is a long-term investment, and it affects every community across the United States. Teachers and support staff and even board members can make that difference count. Teachers have been devalued in this state and in the United States. Do you know that we're probably the one country that hate teachers? Why? We have the only public education system in the world. Anybody who wants to get an education can get an education. That is not true in China. That's not true in Africa. That is not true in South America, Mexico. We are the only system where everyone who walks in the door of a school can get an education. And we ask these teachers and these support staff to make more sacrifices than most everybody. I am a taxpayer. I would rather have my money invested in my future, which are those children that I help, which are my children, my future grandchildren, I hope I have some, than any other investment possible. And I think that we could all work together to come to a solution that would save the district money in the long term. There are other solutions out there. You heard about a couple today. I hope that the board would consider giving themselves a little bit more time to maybe seek out other potential solutions. Why does everything have to be today? It doesn't have to be. You make that choice. But I can guarantee what I've heard in conversations, people who get and people who aren't getting or don't get or won't get, it's causing a little friction. And we're all supposed to be working together as a unified and cohesive group. It's really hard when people resent the other person that sits next to them because they're getting something that we're not. Just like kids. Kids are the same way. If somebody gets something more, why can't I have that? You know that. You got to count every piece of Easter candy in a basket so that everybody gets equal amounts of candy. Otherwise, you're going to have fighting, right? So I ask you to consider finding a more gentle plan. I remember a discussion that you had amongst the board just recently about 6 days, and I just wanted to point this out. The 6 sick days and the accumulation would allow people to use that money however they want. If they want to put it towards health retirement account, whatever, or a TSA, or I don't care what they do with it, but that payout really does help. It also helped in a different way a couple of years ago, and maybe many of you would remember this, when one of our teachers' sons at the age of 2 was diagnosed with leukemia. The staff stepped up and offered Mr. Pappenfuss their sick days so that he could be with his son and his wife while they were taking care of his situation. And I believe he's in maybe the 6th grade now, 7th grade, 5th grade. Because the staff stepped up as well as the community. I mean, they had a whole community drive for bone marrow donors. It was wonderful. And that's what a community is all about, working together. And I agree with Mrs. Goodstone. But I think that as taxpayers, we know that the schools are valuable. They're valuable to our property values. They're valuable to making sure that the quality of life remains very high. And I do think that we could work together to find a solution so that in the long term, this district will not experience troubles like the state might or the Milwaukee County. I think we could work towards that, but we need to work together. We need to generate those ideas, and we generate them together. We can't generate them in isolation. One other thing. I know how difficult it is to sit where you're sitting and make those decisions. I sat there once before. I realize that this is not an easy situation. But I implore you to take time to really research this and really think about the lives that will affect this district, as well as how you can balance it with the community needs. I think most of the teachers and most of the staff would agree, yes, we are willing to make changes, and they've made changes already. I think that they would be willing to work again to come up with more solutions and more changes. We have to. You're absolutely right, Mrs. Goodstone. We have to make changes. But if we work together, then we're not working against each other. And it's a much happier situation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm going to take the one last comment from the back, and then I'm afraid we're going to have to move on to the next item. That was you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Debbie Eggert. I live at 7728 South 51st Street in Franklin. I've been a Franklin resident for almost 20 years now. And I just want you to take a look at me. I'm going to kind of pinch it. I have a little speech here, but I'm going to throw it from the gut. You're looking at the face of the new middle-class working poor. No, I don't look like your typical poor person, but even in the affluent community of Franklin, we're out there, because I'm one of them. How did I get my new title? Well, the decision to steer-tip pension benefits to support staff, that's me, one of the guys in the trenches, is helping me to earn this new title. I'd hoped that after my career as a special education aide, a job that I thoroughly love, I've been doing it for 14 years and hope to continue to do so, that I would be able to reap some benefits of my hard work, loyalty, and dedication in the form of a very small pension that I was accumulating. Now, even though I have worked 14 years, I have to accumulate full-time equivalency, so I've got about 6 years in, which seems like not a lot of time when I've been around for 14 years. But the plans might be changing. And if they change, I'll never be able to retire. Just for the fun of it, and this has nothing to do with you, the banking industry has decided to close my 21-year-old family business, for which my husband and I have been working, for no other reason than they could do it. We never missed a mortgage payment. We were never late, but they decided to stop lending us money. So my husband, who believed in the American dream, being his own boss, was rewarded for his foolishness by being unable to collect unemployment compensation because he was the owner. So for the past 14 months, he has enjoyed the leisurely ranks of the unemployed. The sale of our business was to be our retirement fund. As when the business was open, all the money that we made in surplus, and there wasn't much of it, was stuck back into the business to keep the business afloat and to retain the skilled workers that gave us a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. Yes, a AAA rating. Well, my retirement fund ship on that has now sailed. So So this situation gave me the additional title of sole supporter of my family. I'm a fool if I would think that when I get to retirement age, which really isn't that far off for me, Social Security is going to be around. With the sale of my business, retirement fund no longer viable, and my accumulating pension now on the chopping block, the beacon of hope that kept me going, the hope for my future, the light at the end of my tunnel, is slowly fading. No pension for him, no pension for me, and if I'm lucky, an ice cube chance and you know where to get Social Security. So, I'm being rewarded for my 14 years of dedication, hard work, loyalty, and enduring bites, bruises, kicks, and punches, which I'll continue to do, because I don't really mind it. But the nickels and dimes that you chop from the people like us on the bottom, in the trenches every day, make a difference. So, after my career in my school district ends, you'll still be able to enjoy my company, but I'll be working down the road at Walmart for about $7 an hour. With, you guessed it, no benefits. I'll enjoy working evenings, weekends, holidays, and achieve my goal of never being able to retire. So I urge you to consider not making these cuts. By the way, my husband's going to start working there on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And if you're not aware, we're not discussing the post-employment benefits tonight. That will be at our next board meeting. Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, we have school board announcements. Would any board member like to make an announcement? Hearing none, we'll move on to the school board calendar. We have regular board meeting on Wednesday, March 27th, here at the ECC at 6 o'clock p.m., and a regular board meeting on Wednesday, April 10th, at the ECC at 6 o'clock p.m.
It's also that you should have gotten notice of a special meeting we have to have for a student discipline issue on the 26th at 6:30.
Thank you. Item 8, reports and presentations. We have the Wisconsin Academic Excellence Scholarships. Is that Mr. Nowak? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here to present to you our academic scholarship nominees for this year. The Wisconsin Higher Education AIDS Board every year has academic excellence scholarships that they award. They base it, the number of scholarships that they put out is based upon the size of your school. And Franklin has 3 of those. They've been in that mode for a few years now and will continue to be. The process for deciding who receives those scholarships is based upon GPA, rank GPA. It's also based on the fact that the scholar needs to be a Wisconsin resident. In the event that there are tiebreakers, there are some priorities that are have been set up and have been in existence for many years. Those include things like looking at students with higher numbers of GT, advanced placement, honors, and enrichment courses. Secondly, the number of extracurricular activities. And then finally, ACT and SAT composite scores. The scholarships that are given out have a monetary value of $2,250 per year. They can be applied to tuition only, and those are last for 4 years, with the understanding that the student achieves a GPA to the standards of the Higher Education Board, and then as well they achieve and meet a cumulative credit attainment on a yearly basis. One of the important components to that is that the students receiving the scholarships have to attend school in the state, be it public or private institution. What I'd like to do is share with you our top 3 students, and I will tell you that we have a list of 6 students, and I'm going to share with you the top 3. And of the 6, 4 of them we know to be attending UW schools. So there's a series in the event that, you know, one of the students at the top isn't attending a state institution, the scholarship bumps down to the next student in line. I will also add that the scholarships are based on 7 semesters. So in the situation where you'd think we'd do this at the end of the year, this particular scholarship is done at this point. So it's after 7 high school semesters. Our first selection, or our student who achieved the highest GPA, was Jeffrey Retkin. Our second was Michael Hafes, and our third was Emma Klein. Of those, our first and our third are undecided, and our second student is committed to going to UW-Madison. So we're very excited about that. Any questions?
No. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the Wisconsin Academic Excellence Scholarship Awards?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Traylor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Larson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Pats.
I just lost everything I had up here. What am I talking about? A couple of items. First of all, we held our first redistricting meeting. As you know, this has been brought up to the board for the past 2 years, the reality and probability that we're going to have to look at redistricting because we have 2 of our elementary schools that are reaching a point where they are getting overcrowded. And we have a variety of people throughout the district, not a lot, who live outside of certain attendance areas and attend schools outside of those home attendance areas. So we're working with a company called Martinson and Isley. This whole process would not take effect until the 14-15 school year. But we need to get on top of it right now to accumulate data to make sure we do some geo planning for it, and the company that we get that from will be taking all the students within our district, and we have to do a little forecasting to see what kind of enrollments we might have in the near future. So it's a process that we just started. We haven't done anything yet other than to sit down and visit with them in terms of what the company does, and they'll map everything out, give some recommendations. It'll be a process that will require heavy involvement by the community. Redistricting is always a hot topic. It's always political, it's always emotional, but nonetheless, it's something that we're going to have to do because it's incumbent that we make sure our schools are balanced out. So you'll be getting reports periodically. We're right now gathering internal data to send off to them to begin our first mapping process, which will probably occur sometime this summer. But I just wanted the board to be aware of that. This is actually going to be a reality now. We've talked about it before, but now we're moving ahead. But it will not take place for next school year. It'll be the following school year. And then on the other item to talk about, I just want to get your, I guess, availability in terms of we need to plan for a groundbreaking ceremony at the high school sometime this spring in April. I know there's many conflicts and you all have occupations and jobs and so on. If we were to say we were going to do a groundbreaking ceremony at 10 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what would work best for each of you? And maybe you just need to give that a little bit of thought and let me know. But we would ideally like to have it when we have some students available. Obviously, we want the board available and any other dignitaries we wish to invite, but I think it's important that we are able to do that. It really isn't feasible to do it at 7 o'clock at night or those kinds of things. So if you'll take a look at your calendars and your availability to get off of work if you can, or whatever your personal situation might be, whether it be morning is best, midday is best, or later in the afternoon is best, I'd appreciate getting some input from you on that. So if you'll give that some thought.
Do you have any dates yet in mind?
No, we don't, because we're waiting to see what works best for the architects and when the snow is going to be gone and some of those kinds of things.
It's not going to be gone.
Well, we'll move the snow then. You know, it's when the we'll get it out of the way, we use blowtorches. Somehow we'll figure a way to break some ground. But we'd like to do it in the first part of April. Obviously, the first part we have spring break, so that's not a good time to do it. And then we have some conflicts the second week, so whenever we can fit it in. But I think if I can get an idea from you, we might be able to work that out with the architects and everybody to
Wednesday,
coordinate
the
that.
April 10th, there's already a school board meeting. I'm at 4. I guess that works for me. I'll just-
Yeah, why don't you just email me, what a recommendation you might have or a date you might have. That'll be a starting point for us anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's just a quick question on the consultant that we're employing.
Yes.
Can you just give a little bit, where are they from? Are they from?
They're out of the valley. Menasha is their address. They work with several school districts to do these kinds of planning. They work with municipalities as well. And currently they've worked a considerable amount of time with the Oshkosh School District. They just went through a huge redistricting effort. And we have a lot of similarities and boundaries that I think are going to help us in terms of some of the ideas they had, might filter into what we had. But we've got a lot of data to get going, and so that's the process for now through the middle part of next year. I would anticipate a recommendation coming before the board probably sometime in January of next year with at least an initial option, and then we might want to kick that around depending on community input and so on to look at other options and so on. So, but the biggest thing people oftentimes jump on and thinking that we're doing this for next year, and we are not doing it for next year. It's the following year.
Item C is the youth options approvals. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. You should have in your packets a youth options request summary sheet. Listed are 8 different requests that are being made. These were brought to our guidance department and then worked through the various departments within our building. They're requests that are similar to those that we've seen in the past. We're asking you to consider these and give them your blessing tonight.
And actually, like in most cases, you can't deny them. But I would emphasize too that Mike and his staff have thoroughly reviewed the legitimacy of these requests and making sure that they don't overlap with any coursework. And we do this all the time, and the high school staff does a great job of this. We don't have overlap, so we don't have kids that take advantage of trying to sneak a class in just so they don't have to take it here and take it somewhere else. Oftentimes, these are career motivated students who are looking for classes that enhance what their potential careers might be. The one that's under, what's that one with the geophysics or whatever, Mike?
Prokaryotic molecular genetics.
Yeah. I was going to teach that myself, but I just passed that on to higher institutions. So, but that's an example of a young, I think it's a young lady, right? And she went to Harvard this past summer as part of not a prerequisite, but as part of being able to move into that kind of an arena with that high-end elective in terms of that kind of coursework. So they're all approved and scrutinized pretty well.
I guess when was the 8th one added? Oral theory? Well, what is that?
Oral theory is a music course, and it's one that was on there last semester as well. I think it was added actually Friday. The sheet came over, so you should have had it updated.
It says on the sheet that the following students are eligible to attend. Were there to be names on here? This is just supposed to be courses, right? Not.
Yeah, my understanding of the process is that we remove the names so that the process is objective as can be.
No problem. Just didn't know if it was a typo or if there were actually supposed to be names on it.
Do I hear a motion to approve the youth options request?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Trailer. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mrs. Schlueter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Nowak. Next item is the board self-evaluation summary report. Let's see. And does everyone have that document up to look at? Okay, so the board was asked to fill out a survey. And everyone did complete the survey. And how would we like to carry out the discussion today? Do we just want to briefly go over each one and make comments on the chart, or just as we have in the past? Or, the first standard was providing responsible district governance. And item A ensures accountability and openness to the public. The average was 4 almost always. And do we want to go down the line on each one of these, or do we just want to make general comments? Or
I don't know if you want to go through the entire
I
survey.
know,
I think if there's some highlights that people want to talk about, that'd be fine.
Yeah, or if somebody has questions on what somebody else's comments, if they need any clarification or anything. I don't know that we need to go through every
Yeah,
item in detail.
I agree. No
I think there were a
comments?
lot of areas that we were in agreement on. There were some, of course, that we weren't, but I thought the feedback was honest. I will say that about the survey.
I think our most consistent around C, creates conditions for district-wide student and staff success. There seem to be, for the most part, they were all 5 and 6s, or almost always. So as a strength, I think that would be one area. I think we also seem to be very strong in holding the district accountable for meeting student learning expectations.
I would agree with that.
So those obviously are our strengths. I guess if we want to go to the weak areas, we'd have to start off at the beginning under the, scroll through here, district governance. I guess I did want to say one thing about one of the comments that was made about, in reference to keeping in mind that we have experts that provide us with recommendations. And I guess I'm not sure what the point was as far as experts, because I certainly recognize that I don't know everything, and that's why I like to ask questions of experts. But I also would like to feel that people on the board bring something to the discussion without being an expert. Because I think that's what we need as a board, is to have voices at the table and bringing their experiences to the discussion. So when I see these kind of comments, I'm concerned that maybe some of us don't feel that we have anything to contribute. And if I need some clarification on what was meant by the comments, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know that you're alone in that. I mean, I think sometimes there was a comment made about being surprised about some answers after a board takes a vote. And it's not comfortable, absolutely, but it's when we're together as a board to try and talk about all our differences, or get different opinions or different ideas or things we didn't think about that the other person is thinking about. That's the time to bring it out. It's not always easy, but because then when you hear about how things went down later and you realize that the person or whatever, they weren't happy with the way things went down, but then there was nothing that was said at the time. So I think if we, whatever we can do as a board to maybe try and foster that atmosphere to encourage that discussion, I think would help.
I agree with that. I know that I don't speak up as much as I should and haven't, but will be. I like Mary, what she said earlier is work together, not against each other. So the whole agree to disagree is an awesome thing. However, it's not always feasible. You can agree to disagree, but it also gets personal, and that's what I don't like. And I think that everybody needs to put their feelings aside. And I mean, there's a feeling to this board, but it also needs to be very professional. So that is why I know that I have held back. I'm trying to get a feel for things. I'm more comfortable now, so you'll be hearing more.
Uh-oh.
You get a year off.
Yeah, got my first year off now. I'm good.
It really does take almost a year to kind of get your,
It's a
get your
lot of work.
bearings, yeah.
Figure things out.
And we're not going to,
Something to look forward to.
we're not going to conferences to become experts. We're going to conferences
To better ourselves.
to gain knowledge so that we can have input and keep up on things. And it's part of our policy that we are supposed to keep gaining knowledge. No one's ever said we're experts.
I'm certainly not a fiscal financial person, so when they're talking, I am probably glazed. And I'm learning that as we're going, especially with this retirement. I've been researching things and figuring things out, common grounding in my head, and so.
Okay. Anything else on standard A? We'll move to B. Sets and communicates high expectations for student learning with clear goals and plans for meeting these expectations.
What is learning is shared responsibility with community. Someone said, I don't know what learning is shared responsibility with community is.
I take that as it takes a village.
Okay.
That's how I take it.
That was the only low mark on the whole B. That was mine.
And I also took
I
it
read it
as,
and I didn't get it.
yeah, I also took it as kind of advocating for the schools in the community, sharing the good things that are happening and, helping to inform people. I think, sometimes we do a good job of that, but I think we're pretty inconsistent.
But overall, I think Center B got high marks.
I did comment number 5. I do have a question about the strategic plan. And
We don't have a strategic plan, and that was in 4 years ago that elapsed. Previous strategic plans, and this was brought up at a retreat, I think about 4 years ago. The previous strategic plan, actually plans, identified the areas of communication, technology, and so on. And I'm not a fan of strategic plans. I think they're grandiose ideas that everybody wants to achieve, but I think you're better off setting yearly or maybe a 2-year out plan. Because if you looked at our strategic plans, after it evolved, we probably accomplished every one of the strategic planning goals within a semester, if not maybe a year after it was out, in terms of our improvement of technology, our improvement of communication, and so on. And when I say I'm not a fan of strategic plans, it's because it involves so many people. And those people evaporate, they leave, and so the people that you have in charge of making sure they get accomplished generally aren't there through the entirety of the strategic plan. And very seldom in our district, and was one of them, if you don't have a real concerted effort to, on an annual basis, really dig into every one of those initiatives and evaluate them and do that, which takes an incredible amount of time, both of staff, community, and so on, they just don't have the value. Now, I know there are people out there who rave about strategic plans. The districts that I'm familiar with, including many of my colleagues who have gone through this, said it was an exercise in futility. I think a plan is necessary, but I think there's a better word than a strategic plan. And maybe, I don't know what that is. I know when Mary, when you were on the board, we looked at a a strategic doing, not a strategic plan. And I think that's the philosophy we've developed, at least in the last 6 years, of we need to map out what we need to have done, whether it's technology or communication or whatever, and do it. We have to commit the resources to it, we have to commit the time to do it, and then each year we have to evaluate that. And I think we've done a pretty fair job at that. Technology-wise, we've grown leaps and bounds. Communications, though they could always be better, we've, this little, our video portion of it is just another one of those kinds of things. So we don't have a strategic plan. We haven't had one for 4 years. And it was a result of the old strategic plans. The identified goals and objectives were achieved in other ways. And if we could drag one out, actually we could drag the last 3 out, and they were pretty much identical. So each 5 years, we were rolling up a strategic plan that was the same thing. That told me we weren't getting done what we wanted to get done out of it. Not for lack of effort, just for the logistics of achieving a strategic plan just didn't work in our environment. And we had the ability to bring in ways of improving our curriculum, ways of improving our technology, and those kinds of things. And I think we've done it in a far more efficient way. I would again emphasize, I think there's always a need for a plan. Sometimes it's a long-range facility plan or a long-range plan in terms of, our curriculum or whatever it might be. But I think we do that internally a lot. I mean, we're always planning, just take our Grading for Learning initiative as one example. I mean, that's been, I don't know how long some of you teachers would be able to tell us how long that's been in the pipeline, and we're not even close to being done. But it's a process that we're committed to because it's one of those strategic things that we have to have for our district. So that's where that's at.
The reason I mention it is because we still have it on our website. It's still there. We still reference it. And our mission statement and vision statement still come from it. And so maybe it's time to look at some of those things. But it's still on there. So, and it's out of date, like you say.
Well, and I think about the easiest, we need to take it off.
Yeah.
It's invalid.
We did recently update the program that runs our website. As part of that, we did some cleaning, so that was removed, I would say, a month ago, perhaps.
I could still find it.
I'm sorry?
I could still find it.
If you search for it, you can still find it?
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
But that's probably because it's just on the web. Thank you. Standard C creates conditions for district-wide student and staff success. No?
I was a little, being honest, I was a little perplexed at one of the answers in C. Anybody see a standout there? Employs and supports quality teacher, staff, and administrators. Is that, somebody got a really? Am I reading it right? 'Cause I don't know that, I mean, I wouldn't agree with that. Melissa, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it.
Kind of make you scratch your noodle a little bit, wonder what was going on here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, I don't know what that's all about.
That's a wrong entry was made, but I mean, this whole graph is all of high marks. But that one sticks out. I wouldn't agree
Saying
with that.
we don't support.
Well, that the board doesn't. Oh, okay.
I would disagree.
As a newcomer, I can kind of see where someone's going to come with that because just being a new board member going into my daughter's school, well, it's the board member, watch what you're doing, the report. So I can see, and that's not my mark, but I can understand it. You're held in a different light, even if it's a parent. So I can see it.
Any comments on that, or should we move on? Excuse me, holds district accountable for meeting student learning expectations.
Yeah, I think those were all very high marks, and I don't know that there's anything to discuss. There weren't very many comments either.
Standard E engages local community and represents the values and expectations they hold for their schools. And it's all over the place.
I think this is something we've struggled with as a board, at least in the last 2 years I've been on it. We've had discussions about being more involved in the community, getting more input from the community. I think that may reflect some of the scores on here. That was one of the points you had made, Jeff, about a positive image of the board with the community.
There's a comment number 2, maybe we can clarify that. As far as, maybe we can just get that clarified.
About soliciting staff directly?
Yeah,
That one?
just so we understand.
The way, that was actually my comment. And the way that I read the question, the question read, solicits input from staff and wide spectrum of community members. And, you know, my understanding is that we work with Dr. Pats and that we don't go out and start having all these other conversations with all the staff. That's not our role as a board member. Not saying we can't get input, but I don't think it's our job to start trying to figure out what teacher's doing what in what classroom, and then, am I on track with that, Dr. Pats?
Exactly.
That's
You know,
what,
this was intended so that, number one, there needs to be a comfort level with you being in buildings. Number two, there has to be a comfort level that, as a board member, you're not trying to, quote, find something. That's an unhealthy environment to have, and it puts us in an awkward position. I can say the board has been very good at, when we've had issues where parents bring issues to you, where we've gotten the phone calls, and I think that can't be compromised, because I think in every incident that I can recall, the phone call you get is half the story. There's always another half to that story, and oftentimes when you hear that, I think you would agree. So I think it's sort of a two-part deal, but I think you're right, Tim, that it's meant to just make sure that the environment isn't one where people feel like the board members are micromanaging any part of the district by going in and saying to a teacher, hey, how do you think Julie over here, what kind of teacher do you think she is? That's a red flag and that kind of thing, and it hasn't happened, at least to my knowledge.
and the other half of that was then, which is what I mentioned earlier about reaching out to the community. I think some board members have done a fantastic job of that. Some people are more involved in that level than others. And I personally think that's an area I could work on, so that was.
It's a two-way street, though. I think sometimes the community doesn't want to be reached.
Sometimes I get that feeling. No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
We have that discussion at some point every single year. We provide an awful lot of opportunities for the community to give input. This is one of them right here. And we've had some community members come in different places in time, but and our district is not unique. All school districts have that. Unless there seems to be a hot issue, a big issue, people generally are just, they're content with not getting, involved in the actual day-to-day operations and so on. And I think that's, on one hand, you could say that's a good thing. On the other hand, it's, but I think we always have to keep trying to solicit input from our community on a variety of issues. An example would be when we get into the redistricting, that's going to demand a high level of community input. We have to make sure we do that.
Yeah, I kind of interpreted that to mean to not so much that we as individuals solicit input, but that we support the district's work to, get broad input from the community and from staff.
Yeah.
Because I think it happens in most cases, but we don't personally conduct it.
I mean, I think it was a good process for the referendum. There were opportunities. I mean, I think this is an area where we did a lot, really. If you're thinking about the referendum process, there was a lot of opportunities for community.
Matter of fact, I just ran into Mr. Reed. You all remember him? Gentleman. I saw him in the grocery store last week, and he made a comment on that very thing, that because we got to talk about how the whole situation is going. He says he was appreciative of how many times he knew that things were going on and there were opportunities for him to come and say what he did, and then he went to speak on to why he thought it was important and so on and so forth. So, and I heard that from members at the during the football football season when we had the boards out at the football games, and it was from senior citizens. It wasn't from the younger crowd, so that's a good thing.
And I do think that the insurance change also involves staff input, so I think that process also worked well for us. So I guess there were some good things that happened when you look back on the year.
So I just kind of read into that a little bit, is what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that.
I'm the one that mentioned hearings. I mean, I like World Cafes, but I think on important issues such as, you know, we have staff input tonight at community comment, but 15 minutes isn't enough, and so we went to an hour. But such as with the redistricting, you know, it'll be a hot topic, and it wouldn't hurt to have a night where you can have a hearing and have people just come in and hear what they have to say, you know, for an hour. Maybe you'll get no one, maybe you'll get quite a few people, and just listen to what they have to say, where we're not directing the conversation, just where they get to say what they want. And then.
Well, but in the World Cafe, everybody had a chance to say what they wanted. I think it was a nice format. Yeah, we generated the questions because we had to have some specific answers. At the same time, they had the opportunity to say anything they wanted, and they did.
That's true, but in a hearing, we don't need answers. We only get to hear their comment, and sometimes you just need to do that, just hear what they have to say. There's nothing wrong with that. And that was the last topic. Are there any other comments or?
I thought this was a better evaluation than we've had in the past. I think it was an improvement, so.
Did it work well on the technology?
Appreciate everybody.
You did a great job, thank you.
And thank you, Megan, for putting it together.
Yes, thank you.
And can we maybe use this also in, I think we are planning a retreat of some sort. And so we can still maybe delve into this or use it to guide us in what we want to do with our retreat.
I think that's a good idea.
I think the real value of any evaluation, whether it's a board or myself or anybody, is to do something with it, to review it like we just did as a starting point. But to Linda's point, I think to go into the retreat, there I looked at it and I thought there's some things that we should address. And I think they're important things to address because I think they will lead to maybe it's better understanding, but certainly it's going to help alleviate some, because there were some issues that were identified in there, and they're uncomfortable to talk about at times. But I think if you just let it sit and do nothing with an evaluation of any kind, because an evaluation is tended to do one thing, make you better. You know, it identifies the good things, and those are always nice, and we know those, and you want to build on those. But you also have to take a look at areas that we can improve into. So I would encourage the board that when we get to topics for our retreats, that this might be something you want to consider.
All right, thank you. Next item is the board meeting debriefing. Do any board members have any comments?
I'd like to thank all of our audience members who were here tonight, especially those of you that stayed till the end. It's really important for us to know how everybody feels on these kinds of issues, and I know that they're emotional, and it's going to be a really hard decision whatever happens, but please know that we care and that, you know, we've heard what people have said. We've been getting a lot of emails too. It's not a decision that we're going to make lightly, and you know, that's why we're not making it quickly either. We're not even going to talk about it for 2 more weeks. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
I just want to say too, I like the suggestions that Mrs. Fassbender, you had solutions. You know, there's complaints, absolutely, but the solutions, you brought up solutions, and I think that was important.
I think one of the items on our card is, did everyone have an opportunity to speak? And I think we're giving each other the opportunity to speak, but we let the audience go longer than we're supposed to, and that's, I think, a good thing. So, anything else? All right, thank you. Future agenda items. Gifted and Talented and English Language Learners Program updates on March 27th. The Human Resources Business Services Report, discussion of the report on reduction of liability associated with other post-employment benefits on March 27th. And then superintendent's evaluation, we got an email today to please fill that out and have it, was that by the 20th, Megan? 20, Next Wednesday. Will we be reporting on that on the 27th then?
I guess that's up to you. I know the 27th looks to be a heavy agenda.
Yeah.
And I really want to be able to spend some time on it, so.
So would you rather?
I think it would be important to get it completed.
It's supposed to be in March.
Right.
So that would be a closed session.
I think the idea is that the current board versus the newly elected.
Yes.
That was the
Yes.
idea.
Yes, it is supposed to be.
No, we don't seat the new member till the end of April? Is that-
Well, and even the April
It's
10th
the end
meeting,
of
we
it.
put it on there
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
I'd be in favor of putting it off until the April meeting, assuming that has a
Complete,
lighter.
still completed by the 20th though, or?
I
think
think it's still
Complete it.
completed.
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
Right.
and then just discuss it on the 10th.
Okay.
Is that all right with everyone? To discuss it in the first April meeting?
And then I think I asked about some report on the RTI implementation. Is that?
Right,
Yeah,
met
that
Paul
was-
it, and then we had on directors, and we're gonna put that later on to the end of the year. They're gonna gather all
Okay.
the information, so it'll be on our.
Oh,
on
so
the
this is
docket.
just for the next meeting, these items, or I thought
Right.
these were like a laundry list of sorts?
It's kind of a laundry list if you, yeah.
That's why I thought it'd be on here. Even though it's not scheduled, it can still be on.
Well, we've been looking at it as for the next meeting, is what we looked at the future agenda items, is what we'll look
Okay.
at there.
So it's not forgotten?
No, we've talked
No,
about it.
we're meeting, in fact, we've got a meeting scheduled to go through it, so.
Okay.
And then Dr. Zelmer's report is coming up in first meeting in April?
The assessment report?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in April. I'm not sure what the meeting date is.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Larson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Klein. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:37. Thank you all for coming.